All right, so just to get this out of the way, yes, I did run 100 miles yesterday into the early hours of this morning, completing the Tampa Bay 100 in under 23 hours, which is a really, really, really proud moment of mine. And what really makes it all that more special is the people that surrounded me the whole trip. My lovely wife, my best friend, and my father. I love you all so much. And I want to thank as well Provita Health and Grassroots, who sponsored me through this and helped make this a reality. So we all know what psychedelics can do for mental health, but have what we considered what they can do for human performance. Okay, hands up. Who here knows the name Doc Ellis? All right, we got a couple. Cool. For those of you who don't, Doc Ellis was a pitcher in the 1970s who became infamous for a game in which he went 9 innings without allowing one single hit from the opposing San Diego Padres. Now, a no-hitter is a rare feat, right? It's like your number landing on the same roulette wheel twice in a row. Not a single pitcher did that in 2025, but that alone is not why he's being mentioned here at Cannadelic 55 years later. No, what really made this one for the record books was that this just so happened to be the one and only game in Major League history where the starting pitcher was on LSD. If you threw a no-hitter on LSD, do you think you'd go run and tell the presses, or would you keep that one to yourself? It was 1970. It was the same year that the Controlled Substances Act made LSD illegal nationwide, so Doc kept this to himself, and 15 years later, when he retired, he shared this story and focused mostly on how fucked up the acid and amphetamines he was using during the game made him feel. But it makes me wonder if he didn't stumble upon something special that day. Okay, moving on to football. Who knows the name Derek Wolfe? 0 hands, beautiful, cool. Mammoth of a human being, 6'5", 300-pound defensive lineman, the best run stopper in the league for a decade straight, who would unleash the savage with the help of psilocybin mushrooms. Third one, Mark the Shark Irwin, bare knuckle boxer who won the championship fight on 7.5 grams of mushrooms. That's not microdosing, that's truly having God in your corner. All right, so I mentioned all of these incredible psychonaut athletes to demonstrate a very clear point. That we're all fucking crazy. No. That psychedelics have the ability to help us tap into something deep inside of us, something that's waiting to be unleashed. Anyone else here ever exercise on psychedelics? We're at Cannadelic, safe space. All right, cool. All right, get them. All right, so the first time I experienced this myself was in April of 2022. I'd been doing a road trip from Tampa to North Carolina, was stopped in Charleston overnight, and I found an old tab of acid in my wallet. I took it, I walked around the city, I took in the beautiful views, but eventually found my way into a gym. I'm never the one to miss a workout. So I needed to get a lift in. And what I noticed next absolutely blew my mind. All right, so I want everybody here to flex your arm, make a muscle. See if you can pinpoint exactly where you feel that contraction. Okay, you can try moving your wrist around. See if you can feel that. All right, now close your eyes and do the same thing. Notice how you can tap into that contraction a little bit better, right? So what you're experiencing there is something called the mind-muscle connection, essentially how well you're able to direct your muscular contractions through the use of your mind. By closing our eyes, we shut out more inputs, and it's able to bring us deeper into where that contraction is. When I did this on LSD, it was like simultaneously working out and watching myself work out, being able to see myself on an anatomy chart and the contractions of the muscles while also feeling what that is. So it gave me a whole different perspective on the mind-muscle connection, which at that point was, you know, a major theory of mine, but something that I didn't truly understand. I've been in the gym for 17 years at this point, but when I did this on acid, I gained a completely different understanding. Now, like I said, I've been working out for 17 years at that point. I got my start in fitness much earlier than most, and it was kind of thanks to something that you might have compartmentalized as cruel and unusual punishment, the Presidential Fitness Award. Now, when we did this in class, we were graded on sit-ups, push-ups, mile run, shuttle run, flexibility test, and I thought I was an athletic beast. I played baseball, basketball, soccer, but what I didn't realize was I was carrying around an inner tube from too many vanilla Cokes and Elio's pizzas. And so when it came time to do the test, I missed the mark in every single assessment. But I had a kick-ass PE teacher who allowed me to retest a month later, and so I went home from that point forward, and every night ran, did push-ups, sit-ups, and by the time it came for the retest, I nailed it, getting the Presidential Fitness Award. And that really made fitness a non-negotiable in my life. But I never truly shed that limiting belief that I was the kid with the inner tube. I wasn't one of those kids that got the Presidential Fitness Award on the first try. I wasn't a true athlete. Until 3 years ago, when I found psilocybin mushrooms and my whole life changed. And I'll spare you the ins and outs of exactly what made it so monumental. You can read everything in my book, Your Mindset is Your Reality, now available on audiobook. But the person that I was before that experience and the person that I chose to become after that experience were aliens to each other. The person I was before was too anxious to fail, too scared of jumping out of my comfort zone, too afraid of failing to even try. The person that I became after was someone that saw challenge as an ability to better myself and embraced it head on. It started with the challenge of just getting my life in order, making my bed, flossing my teeth, doing the laundry. But eventually that transitioned into more things. And about a year after I had my experience with psilocybin, I found myself wanting to sign up for a Spartan race again. Other times in my life, the opportunity had come up, and I hadn't pulled the trigger. We were just 2 weeks out from the race, and we had 3 options, a 5K, a 10K, or a half marathon. I asked myself, what would truly excite me? What would make it so that I feel like I truly accomplished something bigger than myself? And so I got up out of bed, went to the computer, signed up for the half marathon, and showed up on race day. Having not run in 11 years, but ready for whatever the day would bring. And so there was an incredible amount of discomfort, cramps in every muscle in my leg, dehydration. I hadn't quite figured out the whole nutrition aspect of things yet. And by the time I crossed the finish line, I collapsed in exhaustion. But I did so in the top 5%, which made me question just how long I've been discrediting myself. How many opportunities to bring out this incredible side to me had I passed up? And so I had to see just how deep this rabbit hole went. A couple months later, I did a triathlon, despite having not swam until a month before the race. A few months after that, I'm in the car on a Tuesday afternoon. I get a call from my buddy Andrew. He goes, hey man, I just signed up for this race on Saturday. You want to do it with me? Sure. What kind of race? It's a 46-mile ultramarathon. All right, now, hands up, who here's ever done a 5K? Keep your hands up for 10K. Half marathon? Marathon? Ultra? All right, Andrew, thanks for playing. Yeah, you're a psycho. The rest of you, congrats on your sanity. There's a couple of screws loose that make me do things like this, right? But I was presented with a challenge, and that challenge was to eat that huge 46-mile elephant one bite at a time. And so 12 hours later, through a naive level of exhaustion, physical exertion to the point I'd never experienced before, I crossed that finish line, and the Pinellas Trail Challenge was conquered. This year, I continued to challenge myself in new ways. I got a strong man. I created the Psycho 10K. I did that 46er one more time. And then yesterday and today, when I went from not running in 11 years to completing a sub 24-hour 100-mile ultramarathon in less than 2 years. Now you might be wondering, thank you guys. Now you might be wondering, okay, so you've done all these things, but what does that have to do with psychedelics? And the answer is twofold. Firstly, if it weren't for my use of psychedelics, I never would have gotten my head out of my own ass. I never would have figured out what was really important to me, and I never would have recognized the ability to grow in a way that truly makes me feel like I'm embracing life. Secondly, all of these events I did with the help of either psilocybin or LSD, including 3.25 grams of mushrooms during the 100-mile race. So that is microdosing, spread throughout the day. Now, it's impossible to quantify the effects of psychedelics in events as monumentous as these, right? For me, it puts me in my mind, it helps me meditate, it helps me get in a rhythm, but that's not really quantifiable, right? But the biggest example that I can paint of the effects came during my first strongman competition earlier this year. I showed up, the lightest competitor in the field, but ready to take on this new challenge. And through the first 4 events, I found myself in 8th place out of 10, which meant that the final event, picking up a 215-pound stone, anyone here weigh roughly 215? No? Okay. Picking up myself plus 230 racks, so my own body weight plus 230 racks, putting this giant concrete ball over a bar higher than my shoulders. In practice, I'd been able to do that once. I could not do a single pound heavier. So in competition, after 4 exhausting events over 6 hours of exercise, but adrenaline, pre-workout, and LSD pumping through me, I found a new level. Now, the competition did reverse seeding, 10 versus 9, the winner of that versus 8, so on and so forth until you get to 1. And so with me being in 8th place, I didn't have much time to get ready. 10 goes against 9, 10 can't pick up the stone, he's out. So I step in. I squat down, wrap my arms around this giant concrete ball, pull it into my chest with every ounce of strength I have, and with every little movement, eventually get it up over that bar. Now, again, this was my true 1 rep max. This was something that I told myself I would be happy to do once. And so I'm feeling incredible at this point until my opponent then picks up the stone and puts it back over the bar. Game on. Time and time and time again, pushing myself to extreme exhaustion on every rep, digging deep within to squeeze 1 more out of myself. I defeated 1 opponent. I defeated 2 opponents. I took a third to his limit, eventually completing 15 reps of something I told myself I'd have been happy to do once. Now there's a lot of factors at play here, right? There's the adrenaline, the thrill of competition, but it makes me wonder if I, Doc Ellis, Mark Irwin, and Derek Wolf are all onto something. Does LSD give us the ability to read opposing batters better, to spin the ball with more vigor, to tap into the mental side of pitching with insane clarity? Does psilocybin give us the ability to unleash the savage, to read opposing plays and defenses with precision? Does it give us the ability to bob and weave with clairvoyance and outlast our opponents by digging deep within to something primal, to something waiting to be unleashed? There's no way for us to know. Not right now. But my ask is that if you take away anything from this, is the question, what could this mean for us? What could this mean for me? Could you run across Tampa Bay? Could you do a 5K? Could you clean your room and floss your teeth and take out the laundry? Right? What if the key to unlocking our potential, to digging deep within ourselves and finding the version that has been waiting to come out, is just this simple? Thank you so much for coming, guys. Yeah, man, go ahead.
What do you think of like professional athletes all kind of do this and relate to competition
Uh,
and put everybody on the same sort of level?
yeah, I mean, I've always been the type that kind of rooted for Barry Bonds, right? I just want to see people do the best things that they can do. So, I don't think that there's anything morally wrong with it by any means. And, would advocate for people to find whatever it is that can be the best versions of themselves.